Hey, Triple F family, we are back and I'm excited to be able to share with you 3 different forms of weight training that I think you'll be able to benefit from. I know we have. I'm super excited to be able to share this with you right now. Triple F.
Here we are back for another Triple F. We are talking fitness. Once again, we have a live audience over here.
Woo!
My grandson Jordan's with us. You've probably heard about him on some of the previous videos. But he works out a lot also. He works out at the same gym I do.
Look at those guns. You can't see him, but he's got the guns.
He's a high school athlete, 9th grader, and works out a lot. I have a 7th grade athlete, Brody, who also works out a lot. And you know, whether you're a teen, whether you're midlife, or whether you're retired, you need to work out. I mean, you need to have some kind of a plan. The question that most people have, and that I had when I started out, is, what are the different types of training that you do? I mean, like, so when a person goes to the gym, I mean, I'll see people that they take a tour of the gym, and I was like this at one time. You just start hitting the machines, man. Whatever machine's there, you just start getting on there, pumping them, pushing them, all that type of stuff, with no real plan in place, you know? And so I always wondered, you know, I didn't know anything about, you know, a lot of the movements and what they were impacting and the types of exercises I was doing, cardio versus strength training. I knew kind of the difference, but I had no plan for any of it. So Tyron today is going to tell us a little bit about the different types of training and a lot of the different elements of those types of training. And so it ought to be a really good deal. And
a humdinger of an episode.
Before we get started, please hit the subscribe and like button. We need more subscribers. We need more likes so that this video gets out to the broader YouTube community. The algorithms of YouTube will take comments, they take likes, and the more subscribers you have, the wider audience they filter this out to. So please, that's the only price we ask you to pay for all this great information you're about to get.
Life-changing
information.
We
want you to live a long, healthy, and wealthy life here at Triple F, right?
I agree. And we need to pay the bills.
We need to pay the bills.
And we are going broke doing this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in debt just doing it.
But I'm trying to live by your teachings in the other podcasts, right? So we got to make sure we're keeping our revenue up above our expenses.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. I'm really excited to be able to talk to you guys about different forms of training. I think this is super useful because people just think that you just go into the gym and you just start lifting weights and that's going to somehow turn into results.
That doesn't happen? That's not the way it works?
You know what? It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
For sure. It's absolutely better than nothing. However, everything in the fitness world is always going to start with goals. Like, what do you want to try to achieve? So we'll use Jordan as an example. Jordan, what is your favorite sport to play? Basketball. My favorite as well. What position do you play? Shooting guard. So like a 2-guard, right? Yeah. All right. That was a position I played. I kind of mixed between point guard and a 2-guard.
I was a center. I was 6'4".
It totally makes sense.
Back in 1978, I was one of the tallest guys in the district. Now I walk on the floor of a basketball gym.
You're average.
And 6'4" is like point guard.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so when we are talking about a sport-specific athlete, there is a certain style of training that we would like to incorporate for that particular sport, okay? And just quickly in the example of, let's say, basketball, we're going to be looking at a lot of fast twitch muscle fiber, a lot of explosive type movements. We're going to be doing a lot of box jumps, a lot of lateral movement, ladder work, hurdles, just lots of stuff that kind of create the ability for someone like Jordan to be able to get on the ball and off the ball as quick as possible. He can move side to side, forward and backward, change directions really quickly. These are all going to be very, very important for his situation, right? Yep. And that is fairly consistent and common with most sports. Maybe not baseball. Yeah. They don't really move.
Baseball moves pretty slow.
It's kind of slow. Yeah. There's some big bellies in baseball. Let's be honest.
Most of them are first base, aren't they?
We just lost half of our audience. Okay. All right. So when it comes to our traditional gym goers, so let's say the bros like me and David that are walking into the gym, we come in and we're like, hey, I want to go bench press, right? Then after I'm bench press,
I want to max out. I want to max out, man.
I want to just grab some heavy stuff and pick it up and put it back down. All right. Totally fair. Get it. Again, it's better than not doing anything at all. But there are better ways and means for you to be able to achieve your goals, but you do need to identify those goals. And so let's say we've got the goal that, hey, we're looking to get stronger. All right. We're not so, and let's say concerned about looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. We just want to pick heavy stuff up and put it back down several times. Okay. This is what we would consider to be strength training. All right. And with that particular idea in mind, where you're just trying to get as strong as you possibly can, then we're really going to look at a certain number of reps or repetitions. And we're going to look at rest time as being some important components. But the most important part of strength training is going to be how much weight is actually on the bar, or how much does the dumbbell actually weigh. Okay. Mm-hmm. So to help with that is the reason why in this type of regimen, we are going to reduce the amount of repetitions that we're actually going to perform for the movement. We are going to increase the amount of rest time that we have between sets, and we are going to bring that weight up as much as we can to allow us to be able to accomplish, let's say, anywhere from 2 to at most 6 repetitions.
That's for the maximum strength training. It's low repetitions, but heavy. I mean, heavy. You want to lift enough weight that's all you can do is 2 to 6 reps.
Yes. And you want to really, really exert yourself to where the bar or the dumbbell or whatever the instrument is that you're using, that you're moving, that thing is not moving very quickly. Okay. It needs to be heavy enough to where it's moving through the range of motion slowly, because you're just exerting so much effort to try to move that weight. Okay. So that really is the core to strength training. So when I mentioned in the last podcast how I was really involved with my friend Jeff Carr, who was a power lifter, that's the kind of style of workouts we did when we went into his gym, and it just looked beautiful and amazing. When we started deadlifting and squatting, it was in those rep ranges. Okay. And it was extremely painful. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's the one thing that you need to be aware of, is that when you're lifting something you can only lift at max, let's say 5 times, it is going to be heavy, and it is going to be very, very difficult and painful and hard on the joints and so forth to be able to get through that. So one little caveat with this: if you are new to strength training, then you certainly want to work your way up into this particular genre. And so my recommendation would be, if you're new to this, is that you actually don't start necessarily with strength training. First of all, you find someone who knows what the heck they are doing. Because if you go in there and you try to go, balls to the wall, strength training, you are going to hurt yourself. Yeah. Okay? Because you're not going to be ready for the weight, and you're not going to have the mechanics or the form sufficient to be able to get through the movement without hurting yourself.
And it's probably best to have somebody there to help spot you, just in case something goes wrong, because you can lift a weight that's so heavy and your elbow goes out or your arm goes out
100%,
and you lose the weight. Yep. So I've seen that happen a few times.
So what I would recommend is that we actually start with another form of training, what we call hypertrophy training. This is actually where we're more concerned about the growth of the muscle as opposed to growing the overall strength. Okay. And so in this style, it's not all that different. However, what we're going to do is we're going to increase the rep range, decrease the weight, and decrease to a moderate level the amount of rest that we have in between each set. Okay. And so in this particular philosophy, we are really concerned about what the bros in the gym would call the pump. All right. We want to try to, like a balloon, we want to try to blow the muscle up as much as we can by driving as much blood into that muscle as we possibly can. And so when he gets on a flat bench press and he grabs the 100-pound dumbbells and he goes for 17 reps, sure enough, he is going to have a lot of blood in the chest cavity, in his shoulder, and his triceps. Yeah.
When I first started working out years ago, I would lift some weight, and I wasn't lifting near what I was lifting now. I was just starting out, and I was working with another guy at the gym, and I mean, after I worked out, I thought, man, I said, my arms feel full. My chest feels full. And when you've been lifting weight to the right amount. I mean, I didn't realize at the time that was just the blood rushing to the muscle, because as you lift, I guess it breaks the muscle down, and that's your body trying to heal that muscle back. And so you get a lot of blood rushing, and you just feel completely full of something fluid or whatever.
Yeah, it's water.
Yeah.
It's blood, right? Blood is primarily made up of water, but that is what's flooding in there.
So so you know it. You know when you've lifted a lot, when you're done lifting and you have that full.
It looks great.
It looks great. It looks
I
great
mean,
for a
you
while,
just like sitting there. You should see Jordan after he's done working out. He's over there in the mirrors posing. He's like, you know. So yeah, exactly. And the nice thing about these rep ranges is that, especially if you have somebody with you, is that they can make sure that your form is correct and you're not lifting crazy amounts of weight, because obviously we're performing more repetitions. And so the weight will be lighter. And so we're able to control it better. And so that's where you start with hypertrophy. And maybe even if you need to, if you're completely a newbie to the whole thing, you can go on to the next form, which is this sort of in muscle endurance type training. But I'll talk about that in a second. But let's say that, hey, you get comfortable and then your heart is really in, I want to deadlift 405 pounds. I want to be able to do that, right? So that's going to be strength training. And that's where you're going to move from hypertrophy into the strength training rep range and rest times. That's where you want. But you start somewhere to learn the technique, learn the form, and then graduate to where you're starting to lift much heavier weights, less on the reps and more on the rest times. About the rest times, one quick thing about rest. So rest is really, really important, because with the type of muscle fibers, this is something that's really important for everybody to understand. Your body is not made up of one type of muscle. It has many types of muscle. But the two primary muscles types that are found within our body that deal with us lifting or running or whatever it may be, there's two of them. One of them is called a type 2B muscle fiber, and the other one is a type 1A muscle fiber. Okay, so the type 2B muscle fiber are the ones that we actually use when we're lifting really heavy weights. And these muscle fibers, if you notice, they tire out pretty quickly. However, they can lift a lot of weight, so they can take a lot. But they have a certain use of energy, and once they go through and use up that energy, they're done. And then it takes time to rest, and we talk about the blood flowing through the muscle. Like what happens is that as you contract type 2B muscle fibers, like this one right here, then waste is going to be expelled from the muscle cell, right? And what happens is the blood is going to circulate in. It's going to bring nutrients into the muscle, and then it's going to take out all of the waste that was there, right? And you typically will be able to feel what is the byproduct of the waste, which is that really, really like painful, sharp pain that you feel when you're like going and you're working really hard and it just feels really tight and just hurts. All right, that's the byproduct of the waste. Anyway, it's going to circulate that out, and that's why we need rest. And for these particular muscle fibers, these type 2B muscle fibers, in order for them to perform at their maximum, they are going to need plenty of time to circulate all the waste from the last time you used them.
So are you talking about rest between sets or between workouts?
Between sets.
Sets.
Both, to be honest, but mainly in the workout, it's between sets.
So is there a standard amount of time that you need to rest between sets?
Yeah, so if we're going in that rep range and we're really, really intense, then we at least want to be even 3 to 5 minutes of rest.
Wow, between sets.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, especially on big lifts like deadlifts and squats. So let's say I have like a 185 pound male who is trying to deadlift over 315 pounds or getting up to 400 pounds or so. That's a great deadlift for that body weight. We would be looking at over 5 minutes of rest between those sets, just because we need him to be at his maximum to be able to move that much weight. When you talk about like sort of body weight to weight lift, I mean that pound, that sort of how much you're lifting per pound of body weight is pretty impressive. Or more than double. So yes, but as far as the question about between workouts or between the next time you may hit that body part, you want to make sure you get a full week between the time when you hit, let's say, back, and then you're coming back to do it again. You want a full week before you hit it really hard again. Sometimes even more than that, even 2 weeks.
And so you're talking about deadlift, doing 3 to 5 minutes on or maybe you're talking about this, but the arm weights. So you're doing like biceps, triceps, chest. Is it the same amount, or are those muscle groups not as big?
Yeah. So one thing you're going to notice about powerlifting and about these massive strength training, they don't really care about little muscles.
Okay.
They don't care about biceps and stuff like that.
The big core muscles they're talking about.
Yeah, they're
legs and
they're really going after because in strength training you're trying to move weight from point A to point B, and the movements that are most important or that are recognized as the most important lifts are going to be deadlift, squats, bench press. Okay. Bicep curls in the squat rack is an absolute no-no. They don't care about biceps, okay? They will care about triceps because that does help in the bench press. But biceps does nothing for any of those three movements, and so it's not really that important to them. So the smaller the muscle is, it's not utilized as much. I will say though,
they work them. They don't focus on it.
They work them, but if they're being utilized during the main lift.
In the main lift, okay. So
right.
It's like a secondary muscle being helped in the same lift. Okay.
Now, I'm not saying that powerlifters don't do accessories. They just don't care about them. And so oftentimes they won't do them. Yeah. But if you have a coach that's with a powerlifter, they will get them to do them because they know that those accessory type movements, they do assist with the bigger movements, but typically that's not something that there is as much of a priority.
Yeah.
Now, so these are the different muscle fibers. So now, when we think about type 2B muscle fibers, we need more rest. We need to be able to circulate blood in and out of the muscle belly to be able to replenish nutrients. When we talk about type 1A muscle fibers, these are muscle fibers that you would use if you're running, right? So you can even think about it. How long can you run? Jordan, how long can you run for? If we said, let's go out, not right now, it's pouring outside, holy moly. How long could you run for if we said, Jordan, you can't play basketball unless you can run, tell us how far you could go to be able to play basketball?
I mean, I can run 10 miles.
10? Oh my goodness, 10 miles.
He's actually on a running program right now.
My longest is 11 miles.
Wow.
An hour and a half.
That's impressive.
I can drive that far.
I don't even like driving that far. That's why I stay here in Katy. Okay, so now, how long will it take you to run 11 or 12 miles? How long would it take?
I would say an hour 45 to 2 hours and 10 minutes or so.
So let's just say 2 hours, okay? Can you imagine deadlifting for 2 hours? No, you can't do it. And that's because you've got two different muscle fibers that are at work here. One of them is much more aerobic. The other one's anaerobic. The aerobic ones utilize oxygen far more efficiently, and their muscle structure, the fiber, the way that they're made up is different than the type 2B muscle fibers. So you've got a lot of different muscles going on here, and that's why we utilize them differently as we're doing different types of exercises, okay? So anyway, back to the types, because we got to get through at least one more type before we run too long. All right, so when we look at hypertrophy, remember, we've got strength training, which is we're just basically moving heavy weight from point A to point B. We pretty much caused that or covered that ad nauseum. But the second one, hypertrophy, this is probably the most popular form, although most people don't even know what that term means, okay? Hypertrophy is really just a technical term, again, for muscle growth. This is where aesthetically we want to find the ideal look, okay? Mm-hmm. So if we use David as an example, ideal look, right? And we want to have big shoulders, we want to have nice big biceps, good-looking triceps, good-looking sort of legs. I don't know. People really don't see your legs, but you should do it because of the testosterone boost you get from working legs.
I just wear jeans.
So you don't have to worry about that. You have bad knees, so you have a good excuse.
I do have an excuse. I can only do so much on the squat rack and all that stuff because of artificial knees don't like a lot of that.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, look, if you want an excuse, just take like a little red marker and draw a line right over your kneecap that makes it look like you've had knee surgery, and then no one will ever question you again.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, man. That is a nice tool to have.
I'm telling you, look,
for somebody that doesn't like.
I can't squat. I don't know. I mean, I had surgery. Sorry. Yeah. So anyway, hypertrophy, this is, again, we are looking to try to drive as much blood into the muscle to try to blow it up like a balloon. So just think of your muscles as a balloon, try to pump them up. That's why we want a big pump, okay? All right, so in that, let me see if I'm missing anything else. I mean, obviously aesthetics is going to be the most important thing. And it's the reason why I like bodybuilding. It's why I got into bodybuilding, was because I liked the way that looked much more than the power lifter. Because generally power lifters, again, the goal is move weight from point A to point B. And to do that, it's not just only about the technique, but the more weight you hold on your body, the more you use leverage, and the easier it is to be able to move weights, because mass moves mass. And that is a very common thing for you to look at a power lifter, and they're just big guys, right? Big guys.
That's why sumo wrestlers weigh so much,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Because they're just trying to move the other guy.
Yep. And so aesthetically, I like the way you look when you're hypertrophy training. And those rep ranges are going to be from 6 up to 12, maybe even up to 15 reps. And you're going to have rest times that are going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 seconds to 2 minutes. And then you're going to move into your next set. And then the weight should be somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 80% of your overall maximum amount of, whatever you're able to PR. You're going to be 60 to 80%. So that's a generally good rule for a rule of thumb when it comes to hypertrophy.
Yep.
And then if you want to get more into muscle endurance, and this is kind of actually where you get into when you're doing 17 reps of bar or dumbbell bench press, that's a lot of reps. When you're up approaching 20 reps, really you're really training the muscle to really be able to last a long time. Even these type 2B muscle fibers are being trained to do that. In fact, if you get a power lifter to go and do what you just did, they'll gas out before like rep 15.
Yeah.
Just because their muscles are just not used to going that long, they'll be done, right? So being able to train the muscle to be able to go longer. The benefits here with endurance training when it comes to muscle, muscle use, is that you get the benefit of a higher caloric burn because you're having more activity for a longer period of time within a particular set. And because of that, your heart is going to be really, really being used in order for it to be able to maintain that kind of movement for that long. And so that's another sort of side benefit there. But it really just depends on what it is you're doing, why you're doing it will determine which of these types of programs you're going to want to elicit. And one last thing, bonus tip, it's not a bad idea for you to bounce between these different types.
Right.
For 6 weeks, you can do a hypertrophy training, and then after that, move into more of a powerlifting type regiment. And then after 6 weeks of that, then move up to an endurance type program, bring up your rep ranges, bring down your rest considerably, bring down the weight, and then just alternate through these, and you'll get the best of all of these worlds. And I think that's a great way to
overall
go.
strength and you can see your muscles. You can actually do that.
Yeah.
Because when I do a lot of reps, I do have a goal of some caloric, burn off and losing some weight. I don't want to be overweight, and so it works out pretty well. I always shoot for somewhere between probably 8 and 12 to 13 reps, somewhere in that area. That's kind of a check for me too, that I'm not lifting so much and straining so much. I can control the weight. And so I'm not comfortable doing any weight that I can't control myself, really. Yeah. Lift the weight, put it back on the rack, in a reasonable way. And, but yeah, that's just me personally. I just like that 8 to 12, even sometimes 13, 14 rep maximum.
And we get used to that. Yeah.
But it's all the way to failure.
Yeah.
So every lift I do is usually all the way to failure. And that's that hypertrophy where you're really getting that muscle full of fluid, full blood flow.
Blow it up like a balloon.
Yeah.
All right. So quick little test. Jordan's here. We're going to test him. All right. So Jordan, I walk into the gym. I want to look as good as I possibly can look.
As good as his granddad, right?
Yes, as good as your granddad. That's right. What style of workout am I going to utilize of the 3 that we just went through? Hypertrophy. Nice. Oh, that's a big word, man.
It is, man.
If you can remember that, you will have cred in the gym all the time. Okay. All right. Second question. If I'm coming into the gym and I'm really looking to burn a lot of calories, I don't want to be that hard on my joints, so I'm going to take it a little bit easy on the weight. I've got a short amount of time, so I'm not going to rest very much. I'm just going to kind of just jam through this workout quickly. What's that kind of style? What do we call that? A little tougher question here because we didn't say this word too much.
Caloric burn or whatever.
Close, yeah. It's this muscle endurance, right? We're gonna want to train the muscle to be able to endure a lot of repetitions, short rest times. We're really gonna just gonna grind through that workout as fast as we can. These are very good workouts for like 30 to 45 minute workouts where you're really just blowing through that workout. Okay, last one. I mean, it's a process of elimination. You'll know what this one is. If I'm coming in and I want to be like the strongest, I can move the most weight, come in with my gallon jug and my big weightlifting belt and stuff, what kind of style am I going to utilize in order for me to be able to lift the most amount of weight from point A to point B? Powerlifting. That's right. Good job. You passed. Yeah, I think he's got it. I think we got it. I think we got it across.
He has good training.
Yeah. Good basketball player, I'm sure. We're going to have to go play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a basketball hoop in your gym. Is there a place
we
for
do
that?
in our church.
Oh, in your church.
We got full court in our church.
I'm talking about your gym,
indoor.
your Anytime Fitness gym.
Yeah, I know, but we don't have that.
You're looking at like red light rooms and stuff.
The church
like
has
that.
already paid for that. We can just go use that.
We're ready.
All right. Well, man, hey, I think we covered some good stuff there, and Jordan got the test right.
Yep.
So I think we're good.
So always remember when you work out, safety first. Only lift what you can do or what you have help with. And if you have any questions or if you really want to get started properly, get a good trainer. And if you keep those things in mind, I think you'll be on a good program.
Oh yeah.
You'll be on your way to a lot of good health. So
pick those goals.
With that, we're going to shut it down, and we will see you next time on Triple F.
See you guys. Bye-bye.